Webinar has started, then we are being recorded, and I need to start the record button as well. So today we're going to talk about a topic that has a lot to do with feeling whole. What do you do after the side effects of chemotherapy, radiation, cancer? So we have some solutions today, and I have Elyn Jacobs, who's one of my favorite cancer coaches, and we have Cheryl Gilman, and she's my favorite.
Welford, sorry.
I have Gilman here. I was told Gilman. Okay, so
it's Welford. Sorry.
Wilford? How did I get Gilman?
I don't know.
Oh, Brooke, you got some explaining to do. Good thing I didn't record this. Okay, so here we go. Let me start the record. And for all of you who are listening or watching on YouTube and Facebook, make sure you do your part to spread the good news about the classroom. And so fasten your seatbelt because we're going to learn and grow together. Here we go. It's time to dance, everybody.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the classroom, please know we've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends on Facebook and YouTube, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, for many of us, life is but a dream, right? But it comes a time where people get a diagnosis. That diagnosis all of a sudden changes everything that is a priority in your life, and you develop some new priorities. And so today we're going to talk about what happens after you've been told that you have cancer. Well, first of all, I want to encourage everyone to have a prevention is key mindset. Don't wait until you get that diagnosis to change your life. Now is the time that you do it. And I'm so grateful that we have one of my favorite cancer coaches, Elyn Jacobs, here in the classroom today, kind of my co-partner in crime here, because I want her perspective of what it's like to have cancer and dealing with people that have cancer and maybe dealing with the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation and the loss of feeling whole. Well, in comes this wonderful tattoo artist. Well, she's more than a tattoo artist. Her name is Cheryl Welford. And I just learned, because I know her as Cheryl from Perfectious Tattoo. And what she does is not just create permanent makeup, but there is a gap here. She helps women and men who have lost facial hair, that they've lost their eyebrows, maybe even their areola, and brings them back into this wonderful feeling of wholeness, even if it's somewhat an illusion. And how do I know she's good? She does my eyebrows. What can I tell you? And since it is since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Elyn Jacobs and Cheryl Welford is here to do just that. Welcome, ladies, to the classroom.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start first with the cancer, and Cheryl, we'll add you in a little bit. Elyn, share a little bit about your journey real quick and how you help others that have experienced this diagnosis.
A cancer diagnosis obviously is devastating to anybody. I mean, here you are, you hear those words, you have cancer, it's pretty devastating. But what we all have to realize is definitely not a death sentence. And we have choices. My motto is, if you don't know your options, you don't have any. So we have options. We can, and once we realize that, we are empowered, we regain that control, and it allows us to make the decisions for us. Not what the doctor tells you have to do, because they can often instill fear. It's what we feel is right for us, and know that your job is to listen to everything your team says, and then to make your decisions on what you feel is right. And that that involves surgery, chemo, radiation. You don't have to do any of those things. It's only what you choose to do, because there are so many options for cancer. So in my case, I declined the chemo, I declined the radiation. First time around, when none of that was even on the table, it was just a very early stage cancer, and I chose mastectomy. I had a wonderful conversation with my surgeon, and I said, he said, well, do you wear bikinis? Do you wear bathing suits? Do you wear, do you wear evening gowns? And I said, well, I don't do too many evening gowns, but definitely a lot of bathing suits. He said, well, we can go in under the bra line and no one will ever know you had a mastectomy, which is true. You can't tell that I've had a bilateral mastectomy. And then I said, well, while we're talking about this, sorry, Cheryl, but can I keep those nipples? And he said, well, we've never done that here before, but if you'd like us to do that, we now come from a symposium, and yes, we believe we can do that. And I said, I'm happy to be your guinea pig. I want to keep them. And so know that you have options. So anytime the doctor says, well, you have to do this, that is not true. You can choose to do this, that, or the other thing. Nothing is a have to. And that's the most important advice I can give you. There's options around every single thing. And if they say, well, we can't do, under the bra line, or we can't do a nipple sparing mastectomy, you say, well, why not? Is the question. We don't do that here, or it can't be done for you and then you say for what reason. So we have options, and that's my strongest thing. And in my case, it worked out great. And then second time around, they said, you need chemo, radiation. And I said, no, I don't need that. I don't need anything like that. And that was, what was it, 6-7 years ago. Perfectly fine and healthy now. So understand that we don't all need to do everything that we're told to do. We learn that as kids. It doesn't always work out that you have to do everything you're told to do. But we can make choices.
Very good. And so not only have you been on the receiving end of a diagnosis, but you also saw your mom go through it, right? And then you also see your clients go through it. So you can, when you talk about a team, you're talking about informed team, not just one who profits from you doing exactly what they tell you to do. Because if they have, if they only have a hammer, everybody needs a hammer. But if you have a hammer and a chisel, then they offer a hammer and a chisel. So you want to be able to go to someone that can say, I can't do this, but here's a team member that's going to say, yeah, but somebody else can. And so that's that empowerment that you bring as a cancer coach to your clients. So I'm always grateful to you whenever to you and people like you, Kimberly Kirshner, who's another excellent example of a cancer coach in the classroom that is just phenomenal. And so it's always good to have people on your side. So with that in mind, what are some of the feelings? Like, people may come to you, a majority, you said often instill fear. I would like to correct that always instill fear. I don't think I know anyone who's gone through cancer who is not fearful, and more fearful after they speak to their doctor, because they're told that if they don't do chemo and radiation, they will die, right? So you come in with a voice of reason. Now, many times you may have someone that's already chosen to do chemo, and now they don't have or surgery, and maybe they don't have their areola, or maybe they don't have their eyebrows or even their hair. Can you share some of the feelings and emotion? I'm sure some of you who are watching today, if you can relate to this, maybe you can share a comment of what it feels like to not have those parts of your body, maybe small, but and how that makes them feel. Can you attest to some of those comments, Elyn?
See, the problem is, when you disfigure a body, women, some people don't care what they look like. Most of us do care what we look like. And so disfiguring a person it's not just that you get through cancer and you survive it because you went through the chemo and the radiation and you survived cancer. Now you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel like, gosh, I'm ugly. I've lost, everything that was important to me before. And beauty is not necessarily, beauty is not from the outside.
Sure.
But when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we don't want to see it, the remains. We don't want to see the scars. It's being whole, and you don't want to see no breasts, or you don't want to see no hair or no eyebrows. So what we look like when we're done is very important to many people.
Yeah. And I want to add here that Anne Marie, and I think I'm reading her name correctly, says, "Oh my God, I felt like a circus freak." Isn't that awful?
It's awful.
That would feel. And so Kimberly is saying, "I didn't mind losing my hair. I wasn't vain about it. I was hoping that it would remind someone to do self-exam or thermography." So yeah, thank you, Kimberly and Marie, for your sharing your emotions and feelings. But there are options. And this is why I wanted to do this class with Cheryl Welford, because it's about informed choice. It really is. And so thank you so much, Cheryl, for saying yes to coming on today and for sharing what you can do, not just as a tattoo artist. Actually, you're not a tattoo. You do permanent makeup. I keep saying a tattoo artist, but you have beautiful tattoos on your body. But as an artist, because you help shape the face, you help shape the eyebrows, or do whatever it is that to help the individual feel whole. So share a little bit about your background and what led you to this field.
Well, my story is very long, as I'm sure a lot of people's is very long, of how they got to where they are. We all have a journey. My journey, I was in the medical field prior for about 8 years, prior to getting into this industry. I had 2 little girls. I immediately was devastated by the death of my husband at 28 years old with 2 little girls, and working, 14-hour days just wasn't going to cut it as a single mom for me. And I just prayed for something else. And I ended up falling in the hands of a permanent makeup artist. And I was just assisting her. And it turned into a career for me. So we worked with each other for a couple of years in a spa. And then she decided to retire, and I just came off on my own. Probably about 4 years into my permanent makeup career, I was introduced to a breast cancer group here in Merritt Island, and they wanted me to test dummy them with their areolas because they were interested in adding that service. And I told them that I wasn't familiar with it, but I have the background of the permanent makeup. My artistry is actually a tattoo artist. That's what my license is. And if they wanted to be my, guinea pigs, I would be more than happy to make them feel better about themselves. Besides eyebrows, eyeliner, and lips, areolas and nipples do mean a lot to a woman when they've lost them. Not all of them, but majority of them, from what I've found, have been happy to have them done. So I started doing that as well. Got connected with a couple of plastic surgeons that also refer to me now, and I'm just rolling with it. And I absolutely love what I do. And when I can make other people feel beautiful, it makes me happy.
Well, doing permanent makeup, and here is, this is the I guess what you do is important, because there's a lot of women or men who may not have had a cancer diagnosis, but maybe are wanting to improve their appearance in a way or not, or whatever. But does it give you more meaning knowing that someone has gone through something and that you're able to help them feel more whole? Or
More whole, absolutely. I mean, it's just amazing to me that I was just dropped into this category. It's like I was made for it. It's so relieving to me. I've cried with my clients. I've laughed with my clients. I've had brunch with my clients. I mean, we end up making friendships, and that's what it means to me. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up for some reason. But I have so many now, and I've actually earned them through clients, making them feel so much better.
that's wonderful. And I'm sure, and Elyn, you jump in whenever you want. Just let me know that you want to say something. So my first question, and one of the things that, and with all fairness here, I just want to full disclosure. I was at a wellness day, and I was interviewing everybody that was at this place. And this was when I was at WMEL. And I saw the permanent makeup, and I was always curious about it. And so I started interviewing Cheryl. And when I was, all of a sudden, the interview became more for me. It's like, okay, I've always been curious, but I don't want to put anything in my body that's going to harm me. And so I started asking about, let's talk about this ink that you're using. Tell me more. And she was able to completely satisfy my curiosity and I wanted to learn more. So let's talk about this ink, because I first called you a tattoo artist, but really it's permanent makeup that you specialize in. So let's talk about the ink, because not all ink is created equal. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So tattoo ink is completely different from your permanent makeup pigments. What we actually should be using in and on our skin. It's actually made to fade. So that's always a great thing, right? So we can change, because our identities kind of change as women. Like every couple of months we decide blonde hair, brown hair, dark eyebrows, light eyebrows, things like that. So what's great about the pigments are that I use. I can't claim for every permanent makeup artist, because there's, the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything. But the pigments that I use are high quality ingredients. They're organic, they're vegan, they're cruelty free. They're not actually tattoo inks. And I know a lot of my cancer survivors in general are always curious to know about that product, because they don't want anything naughty being put in their system again, if they can prevent it. Sure. So that's where I, come in with those. We use iron oxides instead of your traditional inks. So they can be completely organic, completely vegan. And I help clients to achieve their goals with natural products only. Even in the healing process, my products are all natural, as possible as I can be. So like beeswax based products and that sort of stuff. I try to help organic, as natural as possible.
Yes. Elyn, is there anything you want to add to that, what she's saying?
I'm saying, just typing in chat, because that was really important when, when I talk to people and they say, well, I'm thinking about doing tattoos, or I'm thinking about doing this. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about that. So this is so very important for people to know that doesn't mean that everybody is non-toxic when they're doing it, but you can find a person, Cheryl, who does it without, in a non-toxic fashion. And that makes all the difference, because some women do huge things all over. They put these big tattoos all over their chests. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Who did it? So you want to make sure that you're doing it in a healthy way. And I'm so grateful that there are people like you that do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about that, because, one size does not fit all. And so what are some of the questions, Cheryl? I mean, I know that all the questions I asked you, you must have felt the first time I met you that there was a big spotlight on you, because I asked you so many questions one after another, because it's so important that I educate myself before making that decision. Because there are abnormalities in the eyebrows anyway, where they're not, framed correctly. So I had just been told by my hairdresser, you could do this. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that my eyebrows were out of shape, so in comes Cheryl. So what are some of the questions? What should we look for when it comes to a certification or ingredients that we can embrace or avoid?
Well, when it comes to the tattoo artist license in Florida, unfortunately, our guidelines are very minimal. So that can be very scary, and people definitely need to do a little bit of research. It doesn't matter what their stars are on Google or Facebook, you definitely want to go in there, have that consultation, just like if you would a doctor or plastic surgeon. You want to go there, you want to meet them, you want to get that vibe with with them. You want to see certifications that they did take the time to take these classes and these courses, and that they recertify every year. That's not recommended. I do it because I love to have that updated knowledge. I want to know the next best thing. How can I help my client the best? How can I keep myself in the game and be top notch as possible? So definitely go into a location, talk to the person, make sure they're clean, make sure they have a very sterile environment. They don't have blankets laying around and pillows for you to snuggle up on. A chandelier is nice, but that's not going to be, necessary, to have your brows or your areolas done or something like that. The other thing is ask them about the pigments. Ask them if they use pre-packaged and sterilized, products, needles, and just kind of ask the process. Ask 100 questions. It's fine. They can draw the area on for you as first as well. It doesn't have to be a, just close your eyes, wake up, and you have it done. Definitely have hands-on, let them draw, pick out colors, and just feel 100% comfortable in that environment with that person before they touch you with a needle.
Now, I want to shift back to Elyn. With all the patients that you have or clients that you have consulted with, what do you think having an areola added to their breast would do for that individual? What do you think that would do?
Absolutely incredible. Because what I hear from people is, I look like a train wreck. Like, I was lucky I don't look like it. I still have everything. But most of my clients who have been through, particularly with mastectomy, but sometimes also with lumpectomy, there's kind of disfiguration. But with mastectomy, a lot of people either have scars across the breast or they have no nipples. And they say every day, that's a reminder. I get out of the shower every day. It's a reminder looking at, I've lost something that was part of me. So, you can do implants, you can do, various reconstructive options, but without the nipples, you don't look normal. You don't look like what you did for the first 30 years or 50 years or whatever it is of your life. So having the option to have, and I've seen the work, it's beautiful. You can have that same look. I mean, it's not going to have the same feel. We lose that when we have a mastectomy, but it will have that look. So you look good. And whether you're wearing a t-shirt without a bra, you're not going to look odd, right? If you're in a relationship with your significant other, you're going to feel more confident that you look normal to you. He or she may not care, but you do. You want to feel confident and normal. So I would say, yes, most of my clients are very aware of how they look and how important it is that they have a normalcy after the surgery.
Yeah, but again, we have to be very careful, like you said. I want to share that, even Elyn, she was concerned. She goes, after cancer, you want to make sure that, you're not adding dyes into your body and colors and all that. And basically, when I explained the research I had done with Cheryl before I even went to her, you were like so relieved. So we need to ask the questions, right?
Absolutely need to ask the questions, because it would be upsetting to me if I knew my client was then poisoning herself for just for beauty, I would accept it because I would support that person. But knowing that there are safer options, again, going back to the options, it is very important. So definitely ask the questions, throughout the whole thing. Ask the question, is this treatment going to hurt me? Are the dyes going to hurt me? Like whatever, whether it's the treatment for the cancer or the remedy for fixing the way that cosmetically that you look, you always have to ask the questions, and you keep asking those questions until you feel completely comfortable.
Yes, yes. And so I just want to share Anne Marie, she must have really absolutely enjoyed what you've done for her, because she is saying, she is amazing. Cheryl made me feel amazing again. Beautiful work. And then she said, the fake tattoos you give me really help me see the end result prior to having it actually done. So talk about that a little bit more.
I should have brought them as my display. I have them in a drawer over there. So I actually have, if a lady is curious as to what is this going to look like, how do we go about doing this? So I actually have these little stick-on nipples, and they're those semi-permanent tattoos that you can get like in the gumball machines and stuff that you can actually like paste them on, and they last for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So they can go home, they can stamp them on, they last for 2 weeks, and they get to kind of see what it feels like again to have that and make the decision to do it or not to do it. So it's kind of, that's funny that she brought that up.
Even though they're coming to see you because this is what they want, you're saying, hey, before we even do this, do your homework, see if this is really, because really it's really in our head and how we perceive something. So here you are doing permanent makeup, and you take this jump to now do like therapeutic makeup, I would say.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your therapy makeup and what made you decide to go that route?
Into the areolas, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So it just, like I said, again, just somehow it just fell into my lap. One of the ladies that was running the cancer group ended up being my client for eyebrows and eyeliner, I believe. And then she said, you know what? I have this group. You should come talk about what you do, because you've made me feel so much better every day when I wake up, that I can see my face again. I have eyebrows now where I didn't have because of chemo. And I have some eyelash, existing. Well, I have, eyeliner, which I call it an eyelash enhancement. So I basically draw the liner as close as I can to that eyelash area, and it kind of gives the illusion that they have more hairs than they do. So she just introduced me to her group. I came, set up a table, had my pictures, and talked about what I did. And the ladies were asking me to do their areolas, and I fell into the hole, and then I got sucked in, and it's been it's been amazing. I love doing it. I don't force anyone to ever do anything, because as Elyn said, not everyone wants to take that route. When they do their paperwork with me, they write if they've had cancer before, and we discuss what type of cancer, when it was, how often they're having their doctor visits now, and if they're interested in having either scar camouflaging to cover up those cancer scars. Even if it's not breast cancer, it can be another type of cancer that they might have a big scar from, and I can kind of hide that as well. So we just kind of have that conversation, but I never pressure to have anything done that they don't want to do. It kind of stirs up in their mind. If we're doing their brows, they're like, dang, she talked about areolas. That might be a really cool thing for me. And then that's where the stickers come into play.
Yeah.
I love what I do. It's so fun. I just enjoy it so much.
Okay. So what should someone expect after they get, their eyebrows? And by the way, you have Fern. She says Cheryl is caring, sincere, best person I know. So you are absolutely, and I can attest to it too. I have never been one to ever want to tattoo my body. That's not something that's me. But with the eyebrows, I thought, okay, well, let me try it. And so I told my son, hey, look, I have a tattoo now, but it doesn't feel like a tattoo because it's a part of, the outline. And it's amazing how just changing the eyebrows to match the frame of your face can just change your whole face. And so to share a little bit about what the healing process, does it hurt, and what the recovery period is.
So for every service that I offer, unlike traditional tattooing, I do offer numbing agent. That's probably the only product that I do use that's not organic or all natural, because that's really hard to find. However, it's only a topical, so it's not injected into your body at any point. It is only topically placed on the skin. So once you've come in and we've determined what service you want, and the area, that you want it, and the color and the shape and all that, we numb the area first with the topical. That sits for about 15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes if you're really nervous. But it does numb that top layer skin, so it takes the ease out of the actual
It doesn't hurt.
process.
It doesn't hurt. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't hurt.
Not that bad.
No.
And then we proceed with the area that we're working in, whether that's the brows or the eyeliner, the lips, the scar camouflaging, or the areola tattooing. After the service is done, you will definitely leave with a dark, vibrant, thicker, enhanced area than you probably wanted, because we do actually expect you to lose 30 to 50% of the color your first session. So you will leave with it being darker and bigger, but you'll slough off some of those scabs, and everything will kind of shrink down and look a little more natural.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you come back typically about 4 to 6 weeks later, or 6 to 8 weeks later, depending on how you heal. And then we just reassess the area and see if you want to do something different. Or in the areola case, we would add the 3D realism at that point, and then make everything look a little bit more realistic. If it's brows, eyeliner, and lips, and you want to go a little darker, a little bigger, a little thicker, wider, longer, shorter, whatever, we just kind of do all of that in that second touch-up session.
Okay. Yeah, I need a second touch-up session.
Okay.
But anyway, Elyn, you wanted to add something.
I want to add something because people who are afraid of the numbing cream, yes, obviously there's a pro and con to everything, but just like when you have a surgery, they're going to give you anesthesia, they're going to do things. So we have to weigh the pros and the cons. So obviously there's a positive and a negative to everything, but psychologically, if the positive is better than the negative, pain is not good either. It causes inflammation, it causes stress. That's not good for you either. So I understand, there, for people who are worried about that, if you do a mastectomy, they're going to give you drugs, and that's, so we always have to keep it in perspective and understand that there are things that are more important to, and if the outcome means that you have to do something, maybe that's bad. It's the same thing if you're taking supplements.
Mm-hmm.
Supplements are really, really good for somebody who has cancer or has had cancer. But at the same time, when you take too many supplements or just a lot of really great supplements, there's a toll on the body for that. So there is a pro and con to everything. So rather than go through the stress of worrying about things, worry is probably your worst enemy.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Great point. So I want to show a picture of me when I first had my eyebrows done. So I want to warn you that it can be scary, but this is me after having my eyebrows done. Right, Cheryl? I sent
that's
it to
pretty
everybody.
much.
Yeah, that was what I looked like. Anyway, so, but it does get better. It does get better. Okay. So after you have this done, how long do they have to have their areolas done over and over again? How does that work?
So the eyebrows, the eyeliner, and the lips all have usually a little bit less time than the areola, because it's more exposed to obviously sun and exfoliation and makeup putting on it and taken off and getting facials and all that kind of stuff with the steam, the heat, the sweat. So your facial permanent makeup usually lasts anywhere between 1 and 3 years. The areolas, however, since they're typically covered, you could probably go about 5 to 7 years before needing a follow-up on that. I've seen clients that had them done 10 years ago, and they still actually look pretty good. Not by me, but they were done somewhere else and they still look pretty good. We might have went in and just refreshed the nipple area, not actually the whole areola, because their preference was to have that darker. So they should last quite a while.
Yeah. And what about I wanted the pricing. So what should one person expect to pay for areolas versus eyebrows versus eyeliner versus lips?
So the pricing basically depends if they've had the service done before. And then of course I try to discount that because they kind of already know the whole experience and I don't have to be as in detailed with everything. And then they have a base for me to kind of follow. So,
Mhm.
so that is typically going to be about $100 per side if they've had them done. And I say per side because not everybody has a double mastectomy. Some of them only need one. So I try to do it a per side basis. And then if they need both, it's just double. It's 200 per side.
That's a
And
very
then the touch-ups,
I heard
yeah, and then
much
touch-ups are
higher
50
than
each.
that. Your prices are very reasonable. What do other
So,
people charge for that?
well, I've heard anywhere between $500 and $800 per side.
Wow.
So that's when I first started doing it, I didn't charge anything at all because I told them, I didn't really know what I was doing and you guys are like guinea pigs, so we're just playing around. So then I kind of, I needed to, once I got more experienced, you kind of know your worth, your time, and you've got to pay for products and rent. So I called around to a couple of friends of mine. One of them specifically is an actual tattoo artist that does offer the service, and his was about the 550 per side range. And I asked the doctor's office that now refers to me when they had a lady there doing it, what she charged, and hers was about 750. So I just couldn't do that. I want to do it more for them, not for me. So I try to make my prices very reasonable, and that way the ladies will feel more excited to do it and won't feel like they have to take a huge chunk out of their paycheck after going through everything they've already been through in life. It's the least I can do to have that nice discount for them.
Yes. Okay. So for those of you who want to go right now, she's busy with me, but she is in Merritt Island, and that's very close to where I live. So it turns out to be very convenient. And I want you to know this about Cheryl. She didn't even mention this yet, but she trains people to do what she does. So if this is something that seems like this is something you want to do, then consider it, because one of the reasons Cheryl is doing this now is that she said yes. She said yes to an opportunity that was presented to her. She could have said no, because you have to be artistic, you have to be creative, you have to, allow that part of you to flow. She could have said no. Let me just stay here as a chiropractic assistant. Let me just do this work. But now she owns her own business, and people look at that. The people that have written some testimonials about her, and me being one of them, are saying, wow, we're so grateful for the work she does. But she is at 2460 North Courtney Parkway, for those of you who are close by, or maybe it's even worth a trip to Florida, because Florida is great. So Merritt Island, it's in Merritt Island, Florida. And her phone number, just in case you want to call and ask her a bunch of questions, is 321-426-5302. That's 321-426-5302. It's so important to do your homework. And so before I bring back, because I really do want to know how she positions these areola tapes, and how she figures out where she needs for them to be, I want to let you know that we also have to figure out a way to position our sponsors, because without our sponsors, there would be no class. And so I want to say thank you to the sponsors. I want you to know that if you were to take one word about this class, it's about responsibility and ownership. Taking responsibility for how you feel, ownership for your life, and doing the things that will lead you towards health and wellness and that balance that we all desire. And so I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, because this is where we have friendly conversations that can be life-changing, and promoting wholeness, which is what we're doing today. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com, please subscribe and like and follow me on social media, and also subscribe on YouTube and BitChute, because you've heard the rumors, we are being censored. So just in case, we have a place to go to in the future to fall into. So you need to subscribe now. Don't wait. Just like Elyn said at the beginning, don't wait till you get a diagnosis. take care of it now. So go and get subscribe at BitChute, Lillian. I think it's Lillian McDermott Radio Show Classroom. So go there. Then scroll down when you're in the home page, and there is my sponsors button. So check out my sponsors. And by the way, I've talked about First Alternative Care just recently. The price went down from $45 for your entire household for telemedicine to $19.99. And this is for your entire household. That's non-urgent family practice, or actually whatever you would go for your family doctor, it's for that. But if you break a bone, go to the emergency room. And dermatology and 3 hours a year of behavioral health counseling for your entire household for $19.99. So if you're a bunch of group of people that want to share a room, or because you're going to college, not a room, but a place, that's your household. If your grandchildren are living with you or your parents are living with you, that's a household. So that's $19.99 for telemedicine, unlimited for the entire household. And we have Keep Me Safe Organics. Keep Me Safe Organics and Lily Rose are just my favorite beauty products. And that's what I use. Non-synthetic, no chemicals, all organic. And Nori Nutraceutical. This is Nutritional Oncology Research Institute. We have the pharmacy that is just taking medications and putting them topically. They have a sterile compounding group. So just please take care of them as well. If you live in the Florida and Merritt Island area, let them know Lily sent you. You get 20% off. Live Longer Medical, making you as beautiful on the inside as out. And of course, we have our affiliate programs like Ground Therapy, Brain Tap, and Avasia, First Alternative Therapy. So figure out ways to support my sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. And last but not least, you can become a supporter by becoming an enrolled student, and you can donate $1 up to whatever you can, because we want this classroom to thrive. So I want to thank both Elyn and Cheryl for being in the classroom today to talk about these difficult topics to have. It's like, you have somebody that has a mastectomy, you feel uncomfortable. You have somebody that has cancer, you feel uncomfortable. And many people just don't know how to approach this topic. And I'm so grateful that Elyn Jacobs is coming into the classroom today to lead us on these are our options. This is what I experienced not only as a coach, but going through cancer myself. And for Cheryl, who said yes a long time ago to changing her life. And now you're changing the life of others. So thank you both, ladies, for all that you do. And for those of you who have questions, make sure that you type in a Q, ask any question you have, because afterwards we're going to have a very small teacher's pets conversation, because we just have a little bit of time afterwards. So Elyn, is there anything that you would like to add to what we're talking about today that may be associated with feeling whole?
I think it is important because people feel kind of kicked out when they leave their oncologist. Okay, you're done. You did all your treatments, go home. And they go home and say, no, I feel terrible. I look terrible. I feel terrible. I lost my hair. In some cases, other cases, well, now they want me to do drugs. And so feeling well after cancer is the goal, because you don't go through, whether it is alternative or conventional treatment, you don't go through that to come out feeling terrible. You want to come out of it and say, I'm great now. I'm healed. I want to enjoy my life. And so everything that you can do, that feels right to you, that helps you enjoy your life, going back to feeling normal, not necessarily doing things that are unhealthy that might have gotten you into that situation, but really enjoying life and saying, I've got a new chance now. I can look beautiful. I can feel beautiful. Most importantly, I am healthy. I'm healthy and happy. And saying those affirmations every single day. Mm-hmm. And, your mind hears all of that. So looking at yourself saying, I feel beautiful, I am happy, I am healthy, goes a long way to long-term survival and wellness.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, Cheryl, I'm sure you've done a lot of treatments on people or therapies on people, because I'm going to call this a therapy because, you know, especially when you fill in a place for the areola, how do you figure out where it's going to be? Do you have dimensions? Were you trained to do this to discover what the dimension where it needs to be and then put the pasty there? I mean, how do you figure that out?
So I work with the client, and we literally just draw them on. We kind of stand up towards each other, and we take one of your, like an eyebrow pencil or a lip liner type pencil, and we physically just draw them on. And sometimes we have to wipe off and try again, but we're standing face to face to each other. We draw them on where they seem like they would be pretty much symmetrical to each other, and look at them in the mirror standing up. I have a long mirror so they can stand and look in the mirror, and we just make sure that it looks good to them, and everything's pointing in the right directions. You know, sometimes if they are able to have a nipple created for them, those are pretty much set in center. So the doctor kind of does that for me, and then I'm able to just form something around that. So now I'm pretty much skilled to where I can draw it with my hands and my eyes. But prior to tell on myself, my husband came up with the idea when I first started doing this, that we went to Home Depot and we actually bought washers. So we bought these different sized washers, and I would just trace them. And that's how I started. So I don't do that anymore with the washers, but it was kind of a creative way to start it, because they're all different sizes. So we could create, you know, small, medium, and large areolas, and then create the nipple in the middle if needed. Once we have that set in place, then we go ahead and sit down and begin the numbing process, and then we choose colors. So I have every color in the rainbow spectrum. I have hundreds of colors. So any color that someone wants to do, we try to match to their taste. So being that you're starting fresh, you can pick whatever color you want. Usually women want to stick with pretty natural. I have a couple little display here so you can see the basic line of color, but I have about 70 of these. So wow. Every color, person, and genre, and race, and ethnicity, we just work with it. Ideally, the actual color, if you haven't had your lips tattooed, the actual color of your nude lips is technically your areola color. So if you've never had your lips tattooed, I can't claim that because mine are, but we can actually kind of try to match it to your lip color as well, if you want to go that route as well.
Interesting. So, you know, it's okay. So I'm going to edit what my comments are right now. So let's talk about some of the experiences that you've had with the women once you do the tattooing of their areola. What have been some of the responses that you've received from this?
Well, majority of them at first are just excited that it's done, that it's there. They can't believe it. It's, I mean, sometimes they leave and they look gorgeous. It's just like permanent makeup. We do it. Their skin is amazing. They just retained everything that I just did, and there's minimal swelling and bruising or bleeding or anything. So it looks just gorgeous. Those are my favorite. Those are the women that cry before they leave, and it is just it's a miraculous moment. And others are like, okay, this is interesting. They leave, they're dark, they're big, they're puffy, they're bleeding, they're a little tender. I'm very raw with my clients. I'm not going to pity pat this and tell you that it's just a beautiful, you know, experience. You're going to go through a little bit of pain. You're going to go through a little bit of scabbing and bleeding and swelling, and then in the long run, it should be a nice, you know, golden pot at the end of the rainbow. But it's a process. So most of the time they leave kind of like, ooh, but I like the handful I get with the great skin. So it's different.
Well, let's talk about tattooing or permanent makeup when it comes to the eyebrows, the eyes. I mean, there are people that I've seen that look like they've got the whole eye look like a raccoon. I mean, what are some of the tips for people that are shopping for themselves and maybe they can't come see you? What are some of the things they need to think about as they get older and doing permanent makeup?
So when I was trained in school, because I actually did go to a very lengthy school for this, I didn't take one of the 2-hour classes, and then I apprenticed for a year before I actually started really hands-on with anybody, which I really ideally for the average permanent makeup artist, that's the best way to start it. For the client, I see different ideas that clients get. They come in with that Pinterest picture and it's like Angelina Jolie lips and they're so beautiful and puffy and I want my big lips to look like this. That's kind of unrealistic. And I usually tell clients to like, let's start minimal. Let's start natural. Let me enhance for you. That's what I learned in school, was an enhancement. Just enhance the area, make it look a little bit more brilliant, bring the hair look back to life in the eyebrows, enhance the eyelashes with a thin eyeliner, and the lips can just be enhanced with a correction of shape if they need it, and or color. So start minimal. Always adding is very, very easy. And adding with your own makeup is easy. So let me just correct those imperfections that you feel you have. And then when you're going out to the party on Friday night, you can put your own makeup right on top of it and have that little bit of drama. But I do, on the other hand, get those clients that are like, well, I want it to look like makeup every day. Like I went to the club every day, and I'll do it. I just always try to talk them down off the ledge for the first time, but I can do either one, but minimalist.
You can do drag queen, right? You can do drag queen.
I can. I can. I just don't recommend, because you do have to think about, and I have to think about, because I plan on being in my career for many, many more years. And I don't want ladies coming back to me saying, why did you let me do that winged eyeliner? And I have to say, remember, I tried to talk you out of it.
You should videotape it, because they won't remember that.
I've had a couple sign it before, but I'm actually working on removals now for these permanent makeups that, that aren't great anymore, that just are outdated. People did too big, too dark, and that go big or go home is not the way to do it with permanent makeup. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so what happens, because you and I had this conversation a long time ago, that sometimes when the ink fades, it becomes blue or red or what. And so now all of a sudden, instead of black tattoos, they have red tattoos or eyebrows. So what is some advice for people?
So correction services is also something that I'm certified in. After about 2 or 3 years in this industry, I saw more correction work than I did new, fresh skin, because people were starting to regret going to the tattoo artist for their facial tattoos, like their permanent makeup, or they were regretting going to, just a random nail salon or something and just having something done that wasn't in their plans. So they didn't research. They were just getting a manicure and the lady said, oh, let me do your eyebrows. And so they went and did their eyebrows too. And then they, didn't like it. So I did get certified in the correction process and removal process so that we could soften things up a little bit for them. The problem is with the old tattoo inks and not the pigments. This is kind of a catch-22 here, but with the old tattoo inks or with new tattoo inks at the tattoo shops, they're not meant to be in your facial skin. That's a different muscle tissue. It's thinner, it gets more sun, and it's definitely going to discolor. If you have anybody that has regular tattoos, they're gonna discolor. My black tattoos are not black anymore. You can compare it to the picture frame. They used to look like that. They don't do that. And it's worse in your face. So you don't want that on your face. So we go to pigments for permanent makeup. Permanent makeup pigments can change colors as well. They do it faster though, because everyone has different skin undertones. So your undertones, you typically pull warm undertones or you pull cool undertones. If your permanent makeup artist isn't aware of a color theory class like I took, then you definitely will have some color issues where the colors are going to change, and we try to take precaution on that. It can still happen. I'm not saying that none of my inks change colors or my pigments change colors on people. I can't help what it does in your skin. I can try to prevent it by figuring out what tones you are, but I can't promise anything. Your body reacts the way that it reacts.
Okay, well, can you believe it? Time flies when we're having fun. So I want you guys to go to elynjacobs.com. Elyn Jacobs, it's Elyn Jacobs. That's her website if you want to learn more about Elyn. And also Perfectious Tattoos. So Perfectious Tattoo is a wonderful place where you can go and you can see before and afters. But if you want to go to Merritt Island, Florida, that's where you'll find this beautiful lady who really truly cares. And she is the trainer type of person. So possibly if you live in Florida, she's probably trained them. And her number is 321-426-5302. We're going to continue the conversation for a little bit after we're done with the pod class. And thank you, ladies, for tuning in today, and Elyn and Cheryl for being here today to educate us. So please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide when you need a friend.com. This is Lillian McDermott, Cheryl Welford, and Elyn Jacobs wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, so Elyn, when you came into this class today, did you have a preconceived notion of what it would be like? I could see the joy on your face, the smile on your face, learning that this is an option for women and men who have felt that they're not whole.
It's really important to me now that I completely understand how it's non-toxic, because that was the concern, and people, would say to me, I really want to have this done, but it's, the dyes, and I cringe and say, I don't want you to have the dyes. I want you to be happy, but let's talk about this and see if that's what you want. And maybe you want to rethink the surgery, or maybe you want to rethink that. But so now, knowing that there's someone like Cheryl who does it without toxic, repercussions, I think that is outstanding.
How hard was it for you to find a solution, Cheryl, that was non-toxic? Or was that always what you searched for?
I really didn't know in the beginning. I just kind of bounced off the other lady that I apprenticed with. I just used her products. She always said that they were natural. That didn't really mean anything to me. I wasn't super naturalist back then anyways. October will be 10 years that I've been doing permanent makeup. I just kind of went with it like, okay. And then the more that I started to get into it and the more clients started to ask, well, what's in it? What is it? What are you actually putting in my body? That's when I went, I don't know, let's find out.
Natural. It's natural.
It's natural. That doesn't mean that it's organic or
Correct.
vegan. So we have to be careful about that too. Yeah. But actually, really, when the areolas came up, that's when I started to hit the books and go, there's got to be a good product out there that's totally safe for people. What could it be? And then I started just doing some research, and actually really wasn't hard to find. And now, if people take their time and be patient and do research and just look into things a little bit, you can really find some great stuff out there, whether it's information or products that you could be using that are so much better for you, like Keep Me Safe Organics, for example. Like you could just walk into, Walmart and buy that thing off the shelf, or you could take the time, do a little research, care about yourself a little more, and find that amazing product that's not only going to work good, but it's good for you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I did find some good stuff.
That's, it's interesting because a lot of people, they think that over the counter is cheaper, but sometimes over the counter can be more expensive because it will cause health issues. And that's why I offer Lily Rose for retailers and Keep Me Safe Organics for those of you who want to start your own business and have that. And so there's just so many different, once the student is ready, the teacher appears. I would have never considered this as an option. Would you, Elyn, would you have considered something like this as an option if you felt that this is something that you wanted to have?
I didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't presented. So it's hard to say what I would have done. but I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done it if it was toxic.
Correct. Correct.
So that would be the difference.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say one final word for each. I want to again remind you that Perfectious Tattoo and Cheryl Welford is at 2460 North Courtney Parkway. It's part in Unit 201 in Merritt Island, Florida. Worth the trip. Doesn't matter where you live. It's worth the trip. She is truly a trainer's trainer. And her number is 321-426-5302. Cheryl is very caring and she's there to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions, if they wanted to email you, Cheryl, could they email you as well?
Sure. Yep.
What is your email?
That would be perfection, the word perfection, C, the number 2, K, the number 2 at gmail.com. Perfection, C2K2 at gmail.com.
C2K2. And you can also call her at 321-426-5302. So final words, Elyn, what would you like to share with people who are giving, because we just recently did a class on the fear of cancer, and that one has had a lot of, even in BitChute, it's one of like the highest watched, because there's a lot of people who fear cancer. So let's talk about the fear of cancer and the fear that my life will never be the same again. What would you say to them?
Your life can actually be better because you stop sweating the small stuff. You start to realize that, what are you doing? You're wasting your life. You're working your life away. You're not enjoying life. You're not finding joy in every day. So cancer can sometimes be a blessing. And don't get me wrong, it sucks. Cancer is not fun to go through, but when you come out on the other side and you start to realize that you are wasting a lot of really valuable time, whether it's worry or whatever it is, it can be okay. And there's always options. And that's the most important thing, is to know that you have options. Don't let somebody bully you. Say, you can stand up for yourself and say, it's your job to make those recommendations. It's my job to choose or decline them. So once you feel empowered to do that, you can empower yourself to do so many other things once you realize that you are really in control of your life.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for everything you do. You can go to elynjacobs.com. That's elynjacobs.com to learn more about Elyn's story and what she does with her clients. And Cheryl, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing what you do. If you can speak to somebody right now that is not feeling whole, what would you say that you can help them with?
Well, with permanent makeup, there's a lot of things we can do to make you feel whole again. Like I said earlier, during the class is, something as simple as eyebrows it's like a facelift. If you have a lot of hairs already in your brows and you're super happy with that, then there's other options you can do, whether it's the eyelash enhancement, the lip coloring. It just makes you feel good when you wake up to look in the mirror and it's all done. It helps you look a little more awake and feel a little bit more vibrant. You got something to, a guide to go by now if you want to put on more makeup, because some people feel like they can't do it right. I can give you those guidelines so you can do that. If it's areolas that you're looking for to make you feel a little bit more whole, then come in, have a consultation. We can sit down. We can even do the drawing and the picking colors, or I'll give you the stickers while you're here during a consultation, and you can take that home and have those other options. And like I said, scar camouflaging is a thing too. So maybe you opt to not have those areolas, but you have some wicked scars that just drag you down. I have stretch marks that I just would prefer not to see, so I camouflage them. I chose to do it with tattooing with my tattoo artist, and she put beautiful flowers over it, but I can actually settle with a camouflage skin color over those scars and almost have them disappear as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
That could be an option as well.
Well, you have a show and tell. We didn't even do this during the broadcast, but it doesn't matter because we're still recording. Do you have it nearby so that they can see a picture of that?
Yeah, so I have some pictures. I do also want to tell you that there's a difference between your eyebrows being tattooed and microbladed. It's a whole
Yeah,
nother,
that was
a
one
whole
question.
nother
I was gonna ask.
story.
Yes, that was a,
We won't get too far into it, but microblading is actually done with a blade. So if they're working on you with a blade, that's a blade. You're being bladed, microbladed. If you're being worked on with a machine that actually plugs in, that is now you're being tattooed. Even if it's only penetrating 1 or 2 layers deep in the skin, it's a tattoo. Whereas this is actually not being considered a tattoo yet. It should be. You should have to have special licenses to do that, but that's a whole nother story as well.
okay.
So my other show and tell was, sorry I didn't get to send you very many pictures, but these are some of my clients that you can see. The lip coloring, just enhancing the shape, the eyeliner, the eyelash enhancement. The eyebrows can be done so beautifully naturally.
But look at the above.
areolas.
Just point out to the before so that people can see the before
Oh yeah, see
and
your
after.
before and your
Yeah,
after.
there you
Nice
go.
healed, beautiful. And then these are some of the scarring. So this just happened to be facelift scarring.
Mhm.
So you can see that it's kind of
Right
over
here.
by her ear. So before and after,
Wow.
and then before and after.
Very
It's
nice.
almost invisible. It's still there. Don't get me wrong. It's still there, but it's like hidden a little bit. So that's why I call it camouflage.
Well, I love it. I love it. Again, Elyn and Cheryl, thank you so much for being out today and educating all of us. And I'm looking forward to going to see you for some blading.
Yay.
And Elyn, I'm looking forward to our next conversation. So say goodbye to the ladies on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you. Make sure you share and like this.